Good morning, it's Roger Gilbert here at Aquaculture America 2020 here in Hawaii, Honolulu. It's the last day of the show and I'm on the exhibition floor, and I'm fortunate enough to be in the company of Chris Stock, who is the Global Director for Aquaculture Sales for Zeigler, company Zeigler. And we've been having an interesting discussion about protein supplies and the future that aquaculture might play in the provision of protein, not just in North America, for instance, but worldwide. Chris, your company is involved in producing feeds globally, and you have customers in multiple countries. Is aquaculture truly a global industry when we come to species and feed for those species?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a global industry. Our company does over half our business is export, and really it's the engine that's driving our growth and success. So we are everywhere in some ways. We're a small business in many regards, but we act like a big business in terms of having people and representatives throughout the world, distribution partners, our own staff throughout Asia, Central and South America, where a lot of the industry is. So it's truly a global industry.
So you'd have a good experience with species. Are we feeding similar species on different continents? Are we using the same raw materials? Is this truly a global industry just operated in different countries?
Yeah, there's definitely species being raised throughout the world with different practices, but there's a lot of similarities. We have the same species being raised in Europe as in indoor recirculating systems in North America. We have shrimp, Vaname in Southeast Asia, the same type is being grown in Central and South America, and now in indoor systems even in the United States and Europe. So there's a lot of similarities, but we have a tremendous diversification in aquaculture, and those people who are not familiar with aquaculture may not realize how complex our industry is. We have so many species that we're developing. Our industry, when compared to other forms of protein production, is still quite young. So we're still learning a lot as we go. And it's a true global effort to try to transfer information and conduct research. So we're working with partners in other countries to learn and develop and trade information and move products between different parts of the world to assist one another. So it's tremendously interconnected, and we rely on one another to push the industry forward and ultimately feed this planet.
And with that in mind, this interconnectivity between partners, are there barriers to the successful operation of those sort of activities?
Yeah, absolutely. International business is complicated enough, and it's only becoming more complicated. So we face a lot of regulatory barriers. Some are valid phytosanitary concerns to control disease and ensure health and safety of animals and humans. But unfortunately, we're seeing with increasing frequency, there's a lot of what might be classified as non-tariff trade barriers or protectionism, and that is making this business more difficult to operate in right now. And I think it has a great potential to hinder our progress towards advancing our industry and our science and ultimately feeding people.
So do I understand that maybe we should be looking at aquaculture as a global food production system rather than regional or country orientated?
Absolutely. I think that we're going to really limit our potential globally if we're trying to operate on rules that are specific to a region or a country. We really need to find means to support international trade of products and technologies. There's efforts, but there's a long way to go yet.
And do we have time? Do you think time is of the essence in this regard? Given that we're planning to feed 9.5 billion people by 2050, and aquaculture possibly might play a very important role in that.
Yeah, it has to. For those people not familiar with aquaculture, it's probably the most efficient form of protein production that we've got available to us, and it has a huge task in front of it to grow. So there's a lot of forecasts and projections about how much we must grow. I don't have them in my head at the moment, but they're big. And these headwinds that we face, we already have issues with disease and things that are going to persist, and new ones will arrive. That's part of the business, but these artificial barriers, some of the ones that we're facing with trade, are slowing us, and we need support to help trade and transfer technology and research so that we can work together as a one unit.
So I know this is outside your scope, as it were, but how do you see that being addressed? I mean, who should we be communicating with?
That's a tough one, and I think that's maybe some of the heart of the challenge, because we have different governments setting up rules and standards, and they're often doing that based on their own internal science or practices and policies, and unfortunately sometimes these are not science-based rules. I've found in my own experience that some of the rules being established may actually be to the detriment to the industry, where you have good actors, good companies that are trying to comply and meet the rules and standards even if they're not science-based, and other companies or countries who do not enforce the rules for the export of their products from their country may allow for bad actors or bad products to reach the market and ultimately hurt those countries that think that they're setting standards to benefit their producers. So we have to be smart, and I think that there is a need for greater international collaboration in the development of the rules and standards that are meant to protect these industries. So we don't have fragmentation of rules and standards for the creation, export, and transfer of products.
So do you think that, say, for aquaculture specifically, that the companies, for example, that are exhibiting here should be more collaborative in their approach to international trade, both in nutritional products, feed ingredients, etc., and with equipment maybe?
Yeah, I would say we do need to do that. I think that there's strength in numbers to get together and share. The problems that we face as a company, I know, are faced by some of our competitors, and there's definitely opportunities to work together to make those issues known, to communicate to the people in charge what the possible solutions are, and to basically lobby for change. And it's not just within our own country. Maybe I'm working on a challenge in Indonesia or in Vietnam, and working with our local partners there who need to bring together other importers or other producers and say, we need these products, we need these technologies, and we need that government to listen to their own constituents. So it takes kind of a push and a pull, if you would.
Yeah, well, that's very, very fascinating, and I think that, you know, just a voice from a international marketing company like yourselves, just a voice in the right direction is beneficial. And you know, good luck with raising this issue with others, and let's see what we can do in the future about progressing aquaculture and protein production for all. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Roger. Happy to help.
Thank you.